Hello, and welcome back to another podcast. The first 20 of these episodes is me figuring out how to make a podcast. For instance, how should I start the podcasts off? Should I assume that everyone listening to me knows my name? Or should I assume I'm going to be getting a lot of new listeners? So I could start off with, "Hi, it's Ruskin." Or I could just jump right into topic number one. I've been using ChatGPT to really be my assistant and organize all my thoughts. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to get Siri to track my thoughts. And then later, at the end of the week, when I have a list of them, I can pop them into ChatGPT and it can kind of organize them for me nicely. So right now, I have an outline that ChatGPT's made me roughly using that system. So it's telling me, greet my listeners. Mention that this is a solo reflection episode. Like I've said in the past, there will be no guests on here for quite a while until I've worked out all the kinks. I haven't done a lot of planning, what I'm going to talk about, and I haven't worked out these ideas. So these are kind of coming to me as I go. I'm going to do very little editing for a long time. I'll cut out a lot of the silent parts so that you don't have to waste your time. Now I'm going to briefly mention some of the themes of this week's episode. So I'm going to go into mindset, content creation, pregnancy, running, Jesse Itzler, Naval Ravikant, and just what's been going on in my life lately. So that's my intro. If you have any suggestions on how to improve that, let me know. Obviously, it'll get a little bit faster if I'm not explaining to you what I'm doing and I just have something picked out. All right, topic number one, morning runs and abundance mindset. Question one, how does your morning routine shift your mindset around money and possibility? Ooh, all right. First of all, mornings are awesome. They're like pretty consistent, you know? I've got a couple different mornings, you know? I've got my productive, active morning, and then I've got my kind of weekend morning. My weekend morning, I may sleep in a little bit later. Maybe I won't do structured exercise. Maybe I'll do some sort of play like rock climbing or mountain biking with other people. So those days I typically don't do my structured exercise. But on a work day, my morning routine consists of coffee with Moriah, go run, lift weights, and then walk Moriah to work. That's like the perfect morning. How does my morning routine shift my mindset around money and possibilities? I think it just shows me that whatever I do consistently, over time, I'm going to see compound results. Because I've been running for a few years now, and it's effortless. Like my run distance is getting up to like an average of like 6-7 miles. I did a 10-mile run the other day. Felt amazing. That was after I did a 25-mile bike ride, which really crushed me. I'll tell you more about that later. The morning mindset, or the mindset around money and possibility, it just shows that, you know, if there's something you want and you do what you need to do to get it, eventually it'll come. It just takes time. Question number two, what does it mean to believe you're already part of the success you want? I think this question is also related to my morning routine. Every morning, my run goes through, I live in Buckhead in Atlanta, and it's a really nice area. It's close to where Moriah works, and there are really, really nice neighborhoods nearby. A lot of the houses are probably $5 million. Some of them go up to like $30 million. And it's where a lot of famous people live. Like Cardi B lives in the neighborhood, Matt Ryan, Usher, Sarah Blakely, and then a ton of other people that I don't know. But basically, I'm running through these nice neighborhoods with incredible lawns. These things are basically estates. They all have people working on them all day long. People are constantly bringing in like big trees to plant, and they're renovating their homes. And I just see it every single day, and it almost doesn't even make me turn my head. It does actually, because I think I try to pay attention to how nice and how much detail is put into all these different homes. But I feel like I have almost made it, because it's like I live in this neighborhood, I live in a small condo on the side of it, on the edge of it. But it just makes me feel like success is obtainable and I already have it, One of Jesse Itzler's sayings is, we're already millionaires. They just haven't written us a check yet. So I feel like I'm already a millionaire. They haven't written me the check. My life is great. I'm blessed. I'm living in this amazing area. And it's like I've already made it, even though I want so much more. Topic number 2, Moriah and the unexpected impact of social media. So I run Moriah's social media. She teaches people how to style their hair. She also gives kind of behind the scenes looks at being a hairstylist in a high-end salon. So question number 1, how has Moriah's social media presence affected her career in ways that I did not expect? I thought most of the results were going to just be online, like affiliate marketing and basically advertising on the internet for the internet. And what I've started to realize is it's actually more local than that. Like it's helping her be relevant with clients and coworkers. It kind of keeps her at the top of people's minds, I think. So a few of the stories that we've heard are new clients will come see her because they saw her online presence and was able to get to know her before booking an appointment with her. So I think that's helped her a few times. It gives her like some credibility, and I'm sure it's just advertising. She gets more exposure than people that don't share content online. Question number 2, what has surprised me about how visibility builds real trust and opportunity? I think, if you're just not thought about, then nobody thinks about you. But if you are placed in front of someone, they're going to think about how you can help solve their problems. And there's a ton of people out there that can solve the same problem, but if they don't know about you, how are they going to find you to solve their problem? What would I want others to understand about showing up online consistently? Well, I think there's just so many benefits to being online. 1, you're advertising your physical services, like doing hair. 2, you can sell the same products that you're selling in your chair to the rest of the world, which is basically giving you leverage with your time, because in the salon, you can only sell the shampoo to one person at a time. But if you make a video talking about your favorite shampoo, you can now sell that to as many people that see the video. So if that video gets 1,000 views and someone likes what you're selling, they can click on your affiliate link and you get probably a 8 to 10% commission check for that product. And that can really add up. And over time, I think you just educate people and you talk about the things that you like and trust. And eventually, after hearing about the same product over and over again, eventually you might want to try it. So I just think it's wise to make that content. And then also, like, your current clients that are in your chair, if they hear you talking about products 10 times between haircuts, there's a good chance that they're going to be curious and they're going to want to buy something when they sit in your chair because it's there. I have noticed, or maybe I haven't noticed, but I believe that Moriah's retail has gone up significantly since she made the videos, because there are periods of time where she'll post a video every single day. Some days it's just teaching a technique. There are no products being advertised, and it makes her clients more interested in hair and their hair. And then over time of being interested in the same thing she's interested in, then they want to figure out how to level up. And The easiest way to level up for a lot of people is to just buy something. A lot of people don't want to put the time in to learn the technique or to practice something. They just want to throw money at it. And that's good because, for one, you make money. But two, it does help them achieve their goals. And once they buy something, they're probably a little more likely to put in the time to learn the technique. Topic number 3, creating long-form content that builds trust. What does your content creation process actually look like behind the scenes? So I think the longer I make content, the more efficient my process becomes. Starting out, it was let me put as much effort as possible into each video. And now my process is let me be as efficient as possible. For instance, with Moriah's content, we will write out an outline for a tutorial, break it up into different steps, and then film, edit that, and then go back through and cut out little 30 to 90 second clips that can be turned into short form content. So those are more like tips and tricks. And then those are put out to all the different platforms. So Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, TikTok. So then the short form is now turned into basically 7 pieces of content on all the different platforms. And I use ChatGPT to help come up with SEO, search engine optimization. That helps me create titles, descriptions, and I'm able to do that by giving it the transcripts to the videos. So the process has gotten a lot quicker. If I were to put a lot of effort into each short form video, it would be so much effort and I would get burned out. And I think that's what a lot of new content creators are doing. They're thinking very small, probably because it's a little easier to think about. Like, hey, let me just create a little short form video on blowing out my hair. Well, if you could make that a 20-minute video, film it horizontally in 4K, and then just crop in and change it to vertical later, you could get 5 pieces of content out of that one filming session. And the filming session is a lot of effort, and the planning part is a lot of effort, and the editing is a lot of effort. So if you can just minimize as much as possible, then you're going to be able to create a lot more content and actually stick with it longer. Next question, why is it powerful for clients to meet you through video before ever sitting in your chair? It's almost like getting the first impression out of the way. Online or in your video, it's a very controlled environment. You get to be confident because you're by yourself in a place that you like. You get to talk about what you like, and then you get to put music behind it that kind of dictates the mood that people are feeling or you want them to feel. So if you can get them to like you, there's going to be a lot less resistance when they finally meet you. And they're going to be more willing to listen to your advice and pay your price. And on top of that, you wouldn't have had them as a client. They might have gone to see someone else. All right. Topic 4, trail cramping and self-care lessons. So the other day I was mountain biking and I was on this really difficult trail in North Georgia. It's called Snake Creek Gap or something like that. And we were doing a 25-mile ride. 17 of it was on extremely rocky terrain, and then 8 miles of it was on hilly roads going back to the car. About halfway through the ride, I started cramping up in my thighs. And I was kind of worried because there are no ways to get out of this trail. I have to basically walk out 10 miles. And, I was with someone and I felt bad that I was holding them up because I knew I could take my time getting out of there, but it might take me a long time. And the person I was with would not leave me, because like he said, what's the point of leaving you? It's I just don't want to hold you up. And his girlfriend was super fast, so she was gone. I had some time to think, and Naval was saying, what is keeping me from enjoying this moment right now? And I realized I was really worried about kind of like my image, I think. I didn't want to hold anyone up. I didn't want to be the burden. I was just kind of worried about that. And once I could work through that a little bit, I was able to enjoy like my suffering and my surroundings. Like I was telling myself, like, I haven't been this tired or this uncomfortable in years. So like I would ask myself, like, what do you feel? Like, what do your thighs feel like when they're on the board, like when they're close to cramping? And it was nice to be able to observe that feeling without feeling emotional about holding people up or being scared that I'm going to be stranded or any number of, negative feelings. And then I started listening to, nature, the wind blowing in the leaves and the birds chirping and, all the sounds. And I was able to observe the color of the leaves. They were all kind of like yellow green. Since it's springtime, they haven't reached like full dark green yet. And it's just a fun season to be in the woods. So the only thing that I could do was really focus on my breathing. And I found that after a few minutes of really intentionally breathing, doing my belly breaths, the cramps were no longer a problem. And in my mind, I thought, that's probably because I'm getting oxygen to my muscles and they're being able to recover more. And then over time, I would start thinking about something else and I would forget to be, intentionally breathing. And then the cramps would come back. And then I would have to do the breathing again. And then I would, forget. They would come back and then do the breathing again. And I knew as soon as I started doing the breathing, they would go away, but it would take me maybe 2 minutes. And it just kind of gave me this lesson. It's like, it's important to take care of yourself before it's an emergency. So if I know I'm going to cramp, just try to keep breathing consistently instead of waiting till I cramp. Then I have to stop, slow down even more. And I just felt like that's a good lesson for life, and health in general. Just take care of yourself before you need it. So I know I'm going to need sleep tonight. Why don't I just plan on going to sleep at a certain time? All right, next question. What mental skill are you practicing now that you didn't realize you'd need? I think just being optimistic and kind of realizing that we're all playing a game, like life is a game, and, eventually we're all going to die. And in 3 generations, we're all going to be forgotten about. So it's like, just, it's not that serious. Like, it's a game. It should be fun. So something about that. Next topic. Van Michael and exposure to wealth diversity. Question number 1. What did working at Van Michael teach me about wealth and opportunity? I'm going to actually read all 3 questions, and then that way I can kind of nail them all at once. Number 2. How did the exposure change the way I see jobs, clients, ambitions? What limiting beliefs did it help break for me? When I was little, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a career. I just knew I wanted to be some sort of business owner. I grew up in a small town. My parents, they were entrepreneurs, and I think I was exposed to more than, a lot of people. But at the same time, I don't feel like I was I would have loved to have been exposed to more, just like the different types of jobs, the way jobs work, the way people look at money, what is money. And working at Van Michael showed me that, because Buckhead, which is where the salon is, there are a few, it's kind of like a residential and a business district. There's a ton of finance people around. There's a ton of everything, There's housewives, like trophy housewives, like they basically run estates and families and shuttle their kids to private school, and it's basically what you see in the movies. And then there's just all different types of people. There's employees, there's business owners, there's writers, there are just about anything you can think of. And I think the best thing about working at Van Michael was just being exposed to success and kind of seeing people make it, you know? There's a bunch of people that are really successful, and it's fun to see what their personalities are like and their perspectives are like, and if they're optimistic or pessimistic, or whether they're in shape, whether they're healthy. And it was great to be able to just, you know, pick people's brains. Like I had an hour to entertain myself and entertain them. And a lot of it was just trying to find out how they did it and what their mindsets were. I asked one guy who was a billionaire. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but his company that he started it was worth $3 billion. And, you know, the one little tidbit he told me was, no one will ever pay you what you're worth. And I've had to think about that for a little bit. I'm like, why would nobody pay me what I'm worth? And I think, you know, he said something about the fact that it's like, no one really can afford to pay you what you're worth. Like if they paid you what you're worth, then they wouldn't make money having you as an employee. And now that I'm a business owner, it's even hard to pay myself what I'm worth. But at the same time, it's like I own the business. So eventually it's like if the business grows, I own all the equity. Moriah does, and I do. But at the same time, I get what he's saying. It's like, it's really hard to pay someone what they're worth. And no one ever will. So I guess you got to do your own thing. I think that's what he was saying. I'm not really sure. Let me know if you've heard that same saying and what it means to you. No one will ever pay you what you're worth. All right. Topic number 6. How you finish things matter. So Jesse Itzler has a speech where he talks about, he did a 100-mile race, and I think he wanted to quit. And at the very end, you know, about the time he finished when he crossed the finish line, he had someone holding him up, and he was almost unconscious, just kind of like stumbling across the finish line. And even though he finished, he always wished he could have finished strong. And it took me a while to understand, but there's certain things that rattle around in my brain. And it's like, you just kind of want to quit, like quietly quit, or just half-ass it until it's over. And, you know, you can get away with it a lot of times, but it kind of eats at your integrity, you know, and you know when you're proud of yourself and you know when you're not proud of yourself. So I think, you know, just finishing and being proud of how you finished is good. So a couple situations, you know, when I was leaving Van Michael, it took me a few years to finally pull the trigger. You know, I started out by reducing my hours by 8 hours, then by another 8 hours, then by another 8 hours, and then eventually quit. So it would have been easy to just, I don't know how I would have quit and not finished strong, but I knew I wanted to keep that relationship in good standing. And so I wanted to be ethical and proud of myself and how I finished my job. Another couple situations are whenever I finish a run, you know, I want to finish on a high note. I want to be proud of myself. I don't want to be like complaining and mad. Just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. On the bike ride the other day, I was thinking back, like, you know, even though I didn't ride really fast, I never thought I wouldn't finish, and I never complained. And I think I had a good attitude. So, you know, that to me is finishing strong. I was grateful that I was invited to go on the ride, and I actually had a great time, even though it was extremely hard. All right, topic number 7, pregnancy updates and unexpected ease. How has pregnancy changed my expectations of daily life or routines? It's made me flexible. In the beginning, you know, I was kind of thinking everything was going to change, be completely different, and I was basically going to start from scratch with all my routines. And then I just kind of realized, like, you know, things ebb and flow, and, you know, the first trimester, it was a lot of laying around and taking care of Moriah and kind of shifting my mindset to becoming a father. But then the second trimester, we got some energy back. We were able to do more things. And then the third trimester, which is we just got into is even, it's like a mixture between the first and the second one. Still more energy, but a little bit more discomfort, a little bit less ability to do physical things. But it really hasn't stopped us from living our lives. And I thought we weren't going to be able to go on road trips and sleep in the car. We did that. I thought we weren't going to be able to run. She ran up until like a week or two ago. I thought we weren't going to be able to do any rock climbing. She was belaying me last weekend, and she did like a mile hike in and out while carrying some gear. Nothing too extreme. I wouldn't do anything to put her in danger, but she's super capable, and I'm extremely proud of her. And I think it's kind of changed my mindset in a way that it's like, if you want to do something, try to figure out a way to do it. And I kind of think that if I wait any longer, it's only going to get harder to do whatever I want to do, because we're going to have a child, and then, you have to do all those things. So we've almost become more productive, or at least more efficient. So overall, it's been an amazing experience. I feel super blessed and grateful to be in this stage of life with Moriah. I love feeling purpose. The hardest stages of life have been when I don't have purpose or trying to figure out my purpose. And taking care of my family is a huge purpose for me. So I feel like this stage of life is right on time. I don't feel like anything was cut short for us. And so far, it's pretty great. I'm really, really happy about it. Naval said, when you have a kid is the first time in your life you are truly unselfish. And I feel like it's kind of like a transition, and I can slowly feel myself becoming that way. Number 8, climbing goal, the nose at Looking Glass. What is the nose at Looking Glass, and why does it matter to me? It is one of the top multi-pitch climbs in the Southeast, I would say. It's in North Carolina, in Brevard. That is an amazing area. Moriah and I both love going there. We like camping at the Davidson River Campground. It's on a river. There's the Blue Ridge Parkway nearby. There's a bunch of waterfalls, tons of mountain biking, tons of hiking. There's fishing. There's breweries. There's restaurants. It's amazing. I love that area. And that's where Looking Glass Rock is. And, to me, doing a multi-pitch climb where you take all your gear and you have to place protection as you go and then have a partner, that just to me seems like a huge milestone in my climbing journey. It's actually what's kept me motivated to go to the gym in the wintertime and start doing top roping outdoors. I have this burning desire to be able to do that. So where am I in the journey towards climbing this? I would say I'm a few months away. I have a little bit of gear to buy left, probably like $1,000 worth of gear, unfortunately. I am training with my cousin Ian. I would love for him to climb this route with me. The difficulty is a 5.8. It's 3 pitches, and it's probably like 400 feet tall. I think we can do it, but he is a little scared of heights, and I think I am a bit stronger of a climber. So, if I'm not patient, then that could be an issue. But I think we could do it if we put our minds to it. My goal is to do it by this fall. And I'm thinking what we could do is we could hike to the top, rappel down, practice that top pitch, and then rappel down one more, practice that middle pitch, and then rappel down one more, and then climb that last pitch. And that way we can practice it all without having to start at the bottom. How does this goal reflect my deeper motivations around growth or fear? I just like to push myself and, be excited about something. There's a lot of learning in this sport because there is risk in climbing mountains and tying knots and keeping yourself safe. But there's something really fun about learning it and trusting what you're doing. It feels like I'm playing, even though there's a lot of effort that goes into this sport. And I think when I have kids, it'll be a really fun activity to take them into the mountains, spend a night, and then climb and just, spend quality time together. So I feel like now's a good time to work on that knowledge. Number 9, inspired by endurance athletes. How do elite athletes reframe my understanding of physical limits? Well, lately I've been watching a few documentaries on YouTube, and there are some crazy endurance athletes out there. Like this one guy ran a 250-mile race, and I think it only took him like 2 days. And it just blew my mind. And I'm over here doing like 5 miles, and I'm proud of myself. And after I watched that movie, it's like, dude, I should be able to do 10 or 20 miles with no problem. So after watching that, like I can increase my mileage quite a bit. And I'm just realizing that it's really not all, but a lot of it is mental. Like if I don't even think that it's a possibility for me to start cramping or get thirsty or get hungry, that won't even be an issue. But if I focus on those issues, then they are manifesting themselves. So that's something that I've really noticed lately. Like I can do a lot more than I know I can. All right, now it's time for my outro. Reflect on how it felt to talk about this week's thoughts. Felt good, when I'm running, I've just drinking my coffee and I'm feeling good. Thoughts are flowing. I feel like I could talk about those subjects for a long time in the moment. When I'm reflecting on them now, they don't seem that important, but it's fun to kind of go over these topics because you never know what messages are going to be in my speech later on. It's like, it seems like when everyone gets old, they have like the same stories that they tell everyone. So in a way, I'm kind of working on what stories resonate with me. What do I want my message to be? What's important for my kids to pick up on? So I'm kind of casting a big net right now, trying to figure out what my message is. Mention 1 or 2 takeaways or reminders you carry into this week ahead. One is from Naval, and I think we talked about this last week. It's just inspiration is fleeting, so you need to act on it immediately. The things that I'm inspired to do are not as painful. They're much less painful than doing things that I should be doing. And as long as whatever I'm working on, if I'm inspired and they sort of fit into my brand, I don't know why I need to feel bad about doing it. Like I am behind on Moriah's content, but I think working on my personal brand in the long run is also going to be beneficial. So I don't think I need to feel guilty. Look forward to what you're curious about or working on next. Right now, I'm just, working on kind of my creative process for my personal brand. So creating the podcast, creating short form content around that, what my niche is going to be in the long term, figuring out a system for balancing that as well as Moriah's brand and figuring out how to balance those things, as well as really turning up my training physically. I've really enjoyed cranking up my mileage this week. I did a 25-mile ride that kicked my butt. Then I did like a 6-mile run, which was more than normal. And then I did a 10-mile run. And then I did a 7.5-mile run. So my mileage is getting up there. I need to make sure I focus on lifting still because I don't want to get smaller. But those are what I'm thinking about. And yeah, that wraps up my podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening. Please leave a comment so that I know you were here listening. And eventually, if you'd like to share a message, I'd love for you to be on my podcast. So let me know and we can create an outline together and go over those questions. All right. Bye.